Depot Devoid.
Depot Devoid!
Depot Devoid.
God, I hate that bitch. I think that's probably a great way to start the show forever.
You should just say that before we even start, just to practice. That's like your theater warm-up. God,
Yeah,
I hate this bitch.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of what the McElroys do on their podcast, My Brother, and Me, where every single time since the very first time they started it like 14 years ago, trying to figure out how they sign off at the end, they decided that what they were going to say that time was, and remember to kiss your dad square on the lips. And they've done it for every like 700 or 800 goddamn episodes they've done since then.
Nice. I'm sure their dad is very proud to be immortalized that way.
Hey, he opens their live shows for him and does other podcasts with him. I'm sure he has a good time.
Speaking of people with big, beautiful lips, we here at the Depot Devoid are at long last, after 50 long years, are finally here to talk about Godzilla 1985.
That wasn't 50 years ago, Matt.
We have been waiting 50 years to record it. I have, anyway.
Oh, I can respect that. It's been a long time.
Do you see this beard? That's how long we've been waiting.
Hey, you had that beard started the last time we recorded.
Started?
Yeah. Now it's voluptuous.
Yes, it is. It's voluptuous like Karen Black. The reason that we are talking about this movie, we actually tried to talk about this quite a long while ago. I wanted to put this one out there, and for the longest time, Godzilla 1985 was available for free to stream on YouTube. And then 7 seconds before we were going to do that, it was yanked off of YouTube, never to be seen again. And after much tromping through the wilderness of the internet, which, I mean, it would have taken anyone else probably seconds, but I'm not a big internet person. I don't normally go skulking through the dark web, Ted, to try to find movies that we need to watch. But this time, it was worth it, and finally dug out a pretty decent looking copy.
All right. Hold on. I still don't actually know what the dark web is or how anyone goes and fucks with it, dude. What are you even talking about?
I don't either, because it's not the sort of thing I normally do. And if it's something that I did have to do to find Godzilla 1985, then obviously I would not be allowed to talk about what happened. Because I would have had to make a lot of deals with a lot of people that I'm not really proud of making, and that I'm a little afraid about when they come hypothetically. I would be afraid of what would happen when they came calling.
When you met them in the internet cafe, and then behind the internet cafe in the internet cafe alley.
I assume that is
internet dark.
Yeah, that I assume is where such deals take place, in alleys behind internet. That's why they put alleys behind internet cafes, is specifically for dark web dealing. So yeah, we finally found a copy of Godzilla 1985. And the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place is because there was a time, Ted Fagan, when you were, I want to say, 5-ish, when every week, this was back in the mid 80s, when families might have a ritual of going to the video store at least once a week, and everybody gets to pick out a movie. And during a certain period of your youth, that movie every week was Godzilla 1985. And in my mind, we watched this movie so many times that I wanted to kill myself. Although now that I've watched it again for the first time in many, many years, I didn't really remember it very well. So all of those viewings didn't actually cement it in my head very securely. But what about you? What did you, going into this, first of all, like, how long had it been since you saw Godzilla 1985? And before you watched it, what did you remember about Godzilla 1985? What was standing out? Are there scenes that you were looking forward to, or do you even remember it that clearly?
I hadn't seen Godzilla 1985 since you started going into the video store before me to steal the wooden tokens or little paper tokens with the metal wrapped around them, depending on which video store it would be, and asking them to hide them so that I had to pick something different. I hadn't
Lies.
seen it since then, so that would be 1987 or 88. Um, Not sure which one. What I remember about the movie is Godzilla's scream noise, and I somehow believed, uh, as a child when watching it, that Godzilla's like electric radiation breath somehow humans gave him that power when he ate the nuclear power plant, but I knew that that wasn't really what it was. But that was what I believed as a child. Um,
There is
and
there is sufficient evidence within the movie for a kid to draw that conclusion, I think.
yeah, if you're 4 to 6 years old, that's reasonable. But no, I really honestly did not remember much of it. It's like Godzilla's huge, Godzilla's in the water, Godzilla's great. Love Godzilla. Somehow I love him. He kills everybody. He's not really a good dude, but he's cool. Yeah.
Did you have an awareness at this time of Godzilla being part of a long running franchise, or was this its own thing to you?
It was definitely its own thing to me. However, there's a good likelihood that me as a child would have tied this in with Perry Mason and thought, well, goddamn, that guy needs a lawyer for all the destruction he's causing. Um, but I didn't even remember that Perry Mason was in it until you told me that Raymond Burr was a part of this and actually was involved in a movie 30 years previous.
Yeah, that's just a quick rundown for people who aren't familiar. And I do not want this to be a Godzilla history lesson. And thankfully, I have my deep Godzilla dive of my younger days has sufficiently dissipated that I couldn't take you on the horrifying informational journey that I once would have been able to do, and which would have had everyone tuning out very quickly. But just the history as it relates to this movie. um, Godzilla, the original Godzilla film, came out in Japan in 1954, and a version of that called Godzilla King of the Monsters was released in the United States about a year later. And the version of Godzilla that we saw here was a fairly chopped up version. The story is largely the same. Most of what was removed was the more pointed use of Godzilla as a symbol of the use of nuclear power in World War II, and the fact that America was um, entirely to blame was a definite part of the original Godzilla film that was not foregrounded in the version that we saw. And the version that we saw had a number of additional scenes filmed with actor Raymond Burr, most notably known to American audiences a couple of years later as Perry Mason on TV. Raymond Burr played journalist Steve Martin, no relation, who is in Japan at the time of the Godzilla attacks. And so he becomes the audience stand in for the Godzilla film, and he leads us through the experience. We see the movie and its events sort of unfolding through his eyes. And it's kind of an interesting use of, it's what they call localization, where they kind of change the movie to fit the market that it is going into. And as a kid, I mean, when you know how it was done, it's really obvious and unmissable. As a kid, it never occurred to me seeing Godzilla on TV that these scenes with Perry Mason were not part of the original movie. I obviously the movie was dubbed. I could see that it was in a foreign language and that it was dubbed, but I didn't realize that there were whole sections that were filmed with body doubles and inserted into this film so that he becomes an observer. And what was interesting about it is that even though it's dubbed, there are large stretches of the conversation that are in Japanese, and Steve Martin has to have his friend sort of tell him what's going on. So if Steve Martin is confused and can't surmount the language barrier, neither can we as the audience. And so we learn information as he learns it. It was interesting, and it actually worked surprisingly well.
It's a crafty way to do it.
Yeah, and when it's done in a sort of faithful way with some effort put into it, it works, and it sells the illusion for the most part. And this movie, Godzilla 1985, does basically the same thing, although with less effort and more Dr. Pepper product placement. But the intention is the same, which is to kind of change the audience viewpoint going into the movie and sort of give it to Steve Martin. But because he was a much older actor and not in great health, his scenes are there's not a lot of them, and they're fairly localized, and there's a lot of stuff that he's not really present for, so it doesn't have really the same effect of making it his point of view, because we only really see he's really pretty much at the Pentagon, and we see all of that stuff. So there's just all new scenes with Americans, although there are Americans in the original version of this movie. This movie is called Return of Godzilla originally, and came out in Japan in 1984. And interestingly, it is basically a reboot. In many ways, it feels almost like a remake of Godzilla in the way that story kind of unfolds, but it really it's been like 9 years at this point since there's been a Godzilla film, so it really the property has been quiet, and so it's coming roaring back, and it's an all new movie that is a direct sequel to the original Godzilla. Like Return of Godzilla.
No Mothras.
That's what's weird, and I think that's part of the problem, is that audiences, at least American audiences, were not ready for this concept at this point in the mid 80s, where Godzilla 1985 is a direct sequel to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and only Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
It is essentially the second movie, but in reality, it is the 16th Godzilla movie.
And there's no context that would tell you in it that there have been other sightings of Godzilla since 1950.
Because there haven't. In this movie, there have not been. And that is a really normal idea in today's cinematic landscape, but it was not back then. And I think that was a really weird hurdle for people to get over, because while it had been a long time since there had been a new Godzilla movie, the ones that had been released here were really easy to see. They were like on Saturday morning kind of all the time.
Oh yeah.
And so kids were very much aware that there were a bunch of Godzilla movies. And so it's weird that there's this movie saying that this hasn't happened for 30 years and we're not prepared for this, and here's this guy who's like the only American survivor of the original attack. Like, what are you talking about? What about King Ghidorah? What about Monster Island? Like, where's all that shit? And so kids and adults were understandably confused, and I don't think that studios or marketing in any way attempted to prepare them for that. And audiences are dumb, I guess is the word, a lot of the time. And they need to have their hands held. And I don't get it, but people don't usually fail by underestimating their audiences because it's hard to. And Godzilla 1985 proved it and kind of paid the price. It did not do well.
I can't imagine it did. They probably got more of our parents' money than they did most anybody else at a box office.
It's weird thinking about the sort of movies that were coming out around then, and there is no room for Godzilla in that landscape. Like I was thinking about it and looking up like horror movies and sci-fi movies, and I mean, we had lots of like sort of classic stuff like Reanimator and Day of the Dead and Silver Bullet and Fright Night, Return of the Living. You got zombies and werewolves and vampires, but there's no monster movies in the sense that Godzilla is a monster movie. That's just not something we were really doing at that time.
Yeah, we were not doing a lot of kaiju kind of situations.
No, I mean we had a few years before this, we had Q the Winged Serpent, which I don't know if you ever saw that. I'm sure you saw it kicking around the video stores. You would recognize the cover almost certainly. It's basically about like the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl in present day Manhattan, and it's kind of awesome.
No. This just makes me want to say it's in the same category as Ultra Christ.
No, it's actually like. I'm sorry. There's a huge, terrifying spider scuttling across my wall. I have to do something about that. Just one moment.
Now, if nobody was aware, Matt is terrified of spiders, and I saw the camera on his laptop shake a second ago. I assumed that he grabbed a sledgehammer, and there's probably a hole in his wall. And he's living in a very cold area right now. It's wintertime. There's a good chance that whatever Matt was doing right now actually just opened a gaping hole in his wall, and he might start getting very cold, and he might not be able to maintain his ability to record in this environment because it's probably about negative 14 degrees where he's at. And now there's a hole in the wall because he's scared of spiders.
It hasn't been very cold here this year. Yeah, that was gross and scary and horrifying, and I did not care for that. That problem has been solved.
Do you have a window still? Do you have a wall still? What have you destroyed?
Oh, yes. No, I have destroyed nothing. This is my studio. I'm careful in here.
Bear in mind, whatever you just opened up in the wall is going to allow more spiders to come in, Matt.
No, this studio has been pretty safe most of the time. It's quite sealed, and I don't let a lot of things in here. But once in a while... That thing was big and dark. And
now, out of curiosity, your concept of a big spider and my concept of a big spider are entirely different. Are we talking about something with a leg span as big as a nickel?
It's more like a quarter. That is plenty fucking big, Ted.
A very small spider.
No, no, it's not. First of all, most spiders are big. And
yes, I believe I remember you telling me one day when I was 17 years old that your idea of a big spider is maybe the size of my thumbnail. And then you said maybe your pinky nail.
That sounds fair. All right, where were we? Quetzalcoatl?
Yep. Who's not a spider.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, that was the only Q the Winged Serpent was the only movie that I could think of that sort of around that time period that it like even touched on any of the same dynamics. And it's a very, very different movie. It's almost intimate for a giant monster movie, and there's not really a big military presence. The person fighting Quetzalcoatl is a lounge pianist. So, yeah,
you know what?
Played by
That's
Michael
fair.
Moriarty of Law and Order.
That's fair.
Pretty good. But yeah, the world was maybe not as welcoming to Godzilla in 1985 as it might have been. I also think that they didn't really try to sell it. And I was looking at the trailers that they were actually putting out right before the movie came out, the teaser and then the first trailer, and neither one of them would have made me want to see it. And I love Godzilla movies. So I think the first teaser was all like, there's only one tiny piece of footage from the movie in it. And it's right at the end. The whole thing is like playing it up like a performer from a great movie from long ago was finally making a comeback. So it's very tongue in cheek, which okay, fine. but that's like the only way you're trying to sell the movie is essentially as a goofy comedy, which it's not. Like it definitely it's goofy because of the kind of movie it is, but it is not tonally that kind of movie. And it was just very disappointing to see. And I noticed that in 1985 they did a theatrical summer re-release of Ghostbusters, and
Oh, really?
that did more business than Godzilla, which was a new
Oh,
movie.
wow.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Now, for context, they also re-released E.T. that summer, and that did like 10 times the business of that Ghostbusters re-release. So the world was way more into tiny sweet monsters than than giant city stomping ones.
Oh, that's a great disappointment.
Yeah, it really was. And but it's not the best Godzilla movie. I'll let you in on a little secret. Uh, even though this movie is not very good, there are one or two good parts. And one of my favorites is, Godzilla tends to be destructive. And most of the time that is played as a side effect of the behavior that he is exhibiting, which is either instinctive or reactive. And once in a while, though, uh, you get to see Godzilla being destructive, um, just because. And it seems like he's displaying personality. And one of my favorite parts in this movie is this little moment after he comes ashore and is attacking the power plant or whatever, and he's coming through, and there's this big old smokestack, and Godzilla is just like, "Fuck your smokestack!" Rawr! And way to go, Godzilla. I'm with you. It's I enjoy it, but it is the job they did chopping it up makes it a little harder to follow, and it kind of wrecks some of the tone. Like I don't want to get into a big like the Japanese version versus the American version because I'm sure other people have
Right,
done
right.
that a million times better. But I just think that because okay, like there is I want to say about 10 minutes of new footage put into this movie that is shot for the American release. And even with that 10 minutes of new footage, it is still like half an hour shorter than the other one. Like it's significantly shorter and it has new footage. So that's how much we lost in terms of storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's not a great pedigree for a movie. That's not treating it well, and you're definitely not going to have the story that they were trying to tell if you're
Right.
removing that much of it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a problem.
But now going back to it as more or less a grown up, what were your impressions?
Oh man, I gotta wonder if my attention span was better in the olden times. Oh, I got somebody knocking on my door right now.
Is it a spider?
I doubt it, but I got somebody at my door.
All
Give
right.
me a moment.
All right. I guess fair is fair. I got up and left in the middle of the recording earlier so I could kill a scary spider. And now Ted is hopefully not getting serial killed. Oh, if it's a serial killer, we're going to be
That's
able to see him.
uh,
Maybe.
I'm on a video call with my brother right now.
Okay, no problem.
So basically, all of the episodes of the Deep Wooded Void podcast are also available on the Deep Wooded Void YouTube channel with full video. And in some cases, that is pretty nice because we'll include some extra stuff. There's some visual things that we will drop into these shows to help support the conversation or demonstrate what we're talking about. Or sometimes Ted sets me up to make a fake commercial in the middle of the episode, which I do and then put into the episode. These things are mostly just fun, dumb shit for me, and I like doing it. Or maybe I will just utilize this extra time that we are filling because Ted walked away and show you some Godzilla action figures that are sitting around me right now in my studio. They are pretty awesome. They are not particularly expensive or rare or interesting. They are just Godzilla stuff, and they are somewhat articulated, and you can move their legs and pose them and twist their heads and go rah, rah! And if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, then you saw me doing that. This is Mecha Godzilla. He is pretty awesome. He's not in this movie. This is a big old Godzilla. I want to say this is from Godzilla 2000. He is also not in this movie. This is Gigan. He is fucking gigantic. Definitely not in this movie, but he's pretty good. This is sort of the millennial version of Gigan. He's been dramatically redesigned. He has a series of points in his chest. This was more clearly like a spinning buzzsaw in the original version, but this still looks pretty great. Definitely not in this movie. This is Madman. He's from my favorite comic. He's not in this movie, but you could battle them. Ah! All right.
Sorry, Erica's dad just showed up and is dropping some of her stuff off from her apartment, and it's like, I'm on a video call with my brother right now.
Now where were
we? Godzilla stuff.
All right, your attention span.
Yes, I was having a very hard time paying attention to it. It was not remotely interesting. It was not carrying my care or attention to detail at all. I did not have a good time with most of it. And quite frankly, the most intriguing thing to me is what the fuck did Raymond Burr's character have to do with any of it?
I thought those are all very valid observations. And
did he actually have anything to do with it?
No, not at all.
He shows up, he's an expert.
Right. But he's not. Anything. He was never an expert. That's the thing. No, it doesn't even make sense.
He provided nothing.
Because all he did in the first movie was like be around the main characters and not die. Like that. Yeah. Like he's a journalist. So he was observing and then, reporting information back to his, editor or whatever. And he is like friends with the people in the original Godzilla movie who actually play an important part in the narrative. But his role in this movie is nothing because Steve Martin does not have any expertise on Godzilla. No one does, because this movie says that this only happened once before.
Right.
So there aren't any experts. Even the guy who invented the thing that killed Godzilla in the first movie, first of all, invented it by accident. Second of all, destroyed the formula. And third, died. So there are no experts.
Yeah.
So his whole function is he's just there going, Godzilla's not going to die. Nope, you guys, you can shoot your guns, but that's just going to make Godzilla angry and confused. Nope, that's not going to work. Like, he's just He's just there to be critical and like
Yeah.
scoff at their attempts, which
There
is
was
fine.
nothing that came to any of it from his presence, and it was bonkers that was even a thing. I the only reason that they did it was because it was supposed to be an actual direct sequel, so they figured, well, Raymond Burr's not dead.
Well, and that's apparently they originally, like, the intention of the American company was to chop it up even further and basically with whatever new scenes they were going to shoot, they were going to turn it into, they were going to lean into the camp comic aspect of it. And they apparently they meant to hire Lorne Green as the guy.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know where that went, but anyway, they ended up realizing they could get Raymond Burr, and Raymond Burr was like absolutely not going to do comedy. Like he refused to take the whole nuclear allegory anything less than absolutely seriously, which I think is good, but unfortunately this movie didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
And because they were already so determined to like let America off the hook for everything, so that weren't going to really get much traction out of the nuclear allegory anyway, because they were going to cut out anything that mattered. And like the biggest, there are a lot of changes between the two versions, but the biggest, like most obvious, like, wow, what a bunch of fuckers we are, is the Russian guy on the Russian ship in Tokyo Bay that has like the communication with the nuclear satellite that launches the attack. Like they make it clear this guy, like with his dying breath, manages to launch the nuclear attack against Godzilla, even though Godzilla's already down. In the actual movie, the countdown has already started, and that Russian guy dies trying to stop the launch. It is the exact opposite of what is in the Godzilla 1985 version.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. Yeah, it bums me out. But I will say, this is, I mean, this is just like, this is how I relate to this franchise in general, even though this movie is almost uniformly bad in most of the choices that it makes. And I mean this movie specifically, not the whole Japanese movie on its own. That's a whole different matter.
Right.
But this movie makes almost nothing but bad choices. And still, at the end, I am like super moved when Godzilla is dying. Like every time. Like it always gets me. I'm just a huge sucker for giant monsters in pain, I guess.
I get it.
When the Super X like hits him with the cadmium missiles in the first place, like in the first death that he experiences in this movie, and his like mouth is like, I'm like horrified. Like,
yeah,
like it's literally it's a hand puppet with foam in its mouth, and I'm just like, oh my god, that poor guy.
I think that's the part that actually got to me when I was a kid. It's like I have to root for them now.
For real.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It makes him so sympathetic.
Oh, also, one other thing, and I know that this is a ridiculous point. They keep referring to Godzilla as a he entirely throughout the movie. They don't call it an it. They don't call it a she. They specifically say he, and we never see Dong.
That is true, but I am not, okay, I'm no zoologist, but I don't really know that much about reptile Dong. And so I don't know what I would necessarily be looking for.
Exactly. So why are we deciding that it's a he unless we're just seeing like photos where they're cutting out?
Now, I don't remember if they go into that anymore in the original Godzilla as far as establishing gender. I know that like when the 1998 American Godzilla movie came out, and then they like partway through the movie, they were like, oh, it's a girl, and then it's laying eggs. Like, yep. I think I remember I think I remember reading, and maybe this is totally apocryphal, but for the purpose of this podcast, I will say all of this information has been vetted and is 100% true, that Toho Studios as an entity was enraged that they had made Godzilla a female because Godzilla is a dude. I don't know if that's true, but it's totally true. And maybe this movie is part of the pattern of how they established that, just through speaking it into existence.
It's entirely possible. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like I'm accustomed to them using male pronouns for Godzilla without really establishing that in any meaningful way other than through conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely not like hanging brain, but I don't remember ever seeing a lizard dropping their balls anywhere.
And they also say that he's related to birds, like all reptiles, and they talk about those similarities. I mean, do they?
Hey, like, the very first episode of Dirty Jobs back in the long ago.
Are you going to
that with Mike Rowe?
I did, but I don't remember it. But does he eat Godzilla's cloaca?
Essentially, his very first job, the very first bit in the very first episode, was working as a chicken sexer. And so he had to finger freshly born chicks and assert as to whether or not he could get his finger in a certain depth to decide whether or not that was a female or a male. And I'm not exactly sure how that works because I've never played that game myself personally.
But I really pervy.
I have known several people who go to local stores to buy chicks when they're available in the springtime, and then they end up getting home and being like, "That's a rooster" when it got a little bit older, because you're basing this entire situation as to whether or not it's a male or a female by whether or not somebody judged how deep it was when they fingered the bird. Anyway,
they definitely nobody fingered Godzilla in this movie.
Are you sure?
If that happened, it was in one of the many lost sequels in between, because they did not go into that here. Before we run out of time, I do want to say I loved the homeless guy who spends the Godzilla attacks like helping himself to food in fancy restaurants and stuff.
Yes.
I thought that guy was terrific.
That was pretty wonderful.
This movie is like, I love Godzilla movies, and this is a pretty weak example. And I was sort of bummed out about it. I'm glad that we found it for free, because I don't think it would have been worth paying money to rent. And in general, I recommend Godzilla movies, but this isn't the one.
It fell short.
And the Japanese version is better, but that one too it's just, there are so many better ones that it's like, why waste your time on that when you could be like eating the really good stuff,
right?
And this movie, I mean, it did really poorly, and that's, I think, why they didn't release any more here for 15 years. And a lot of American audiences thought there weren't any. But they made another like dozen in between. They didn't give them to us, but they were really good. After this, they started getting a lot better, like exponentially better.
And the bonus for me in that regard is this is my first one. It was my introduction to Godzilla.
It can
and
only
I thought
go
it was
up.
Great, apparently.
Yeah.
When I was little. And I love Godzilla.
It only gets better from Godzilla 1985. Well, I think we're about to run out of time, and I feel like we probably don't need to go into anything else about this one right now.
I don't think so.
I would suggest that we should watch another better Godzilla movie.
We absolutely need to watch a better Godzilla movie. After this, we need them. And I love kaijus. I love the old sets where somebody's just a dude in a suit smashing a model. That's what
I yearn for. And that stuff gets better and better after this.
Yeah.
So we will come back to this play box and find some more fun stuff that is not Godzilla 1985 and doesn't have
Right.
Steve Martin.
Yeah, yep. Or we could get another one with the real Steve Martin.
I would love that. I would be fully into that. And he could play a character named Raymond Burr.
And he's not dead yet. We should do it.
Let's call him.
I will get right on that with my contacts. I have one.
I love you, Ted.
It'll get me anywhere. I love you too, Matt.
If your contact is Martin Short, that will probably work because they hang out together a lot.
No, it's not him. It's somebody who works in special effects, primarily body makeup. It's not going to get us anywhere.
That doesn't sound like that doesn't sound like the right area.
And also, I could get us in touch with, the person who wrote The Mothman.
Yeah, you threatened me with that before.
Yeah. Richard Haddam is probably going to be like, well, if I listen to any of your stuff, your brother said this about me. I'm not giving you dick.
Well, we haven't published that episode yet.
Hey, never mind. I rescind everything I've said.
It could happen at any time, though.
There you go.
All right. Here is looking toward better Godzilla movies.
Yes, it must be done.
Ted, may your enemy's dicks be bitten off.
Every goddamn one of them. I'm pretty sure that Rube Goldberg machine is going to be legal in California.
I look forward to seeing that.
All right. Love you, Matt.
Love you too, Ted. Have a great night.
The Depot Devoid is that place your mind goes when you've lost your train of thought, but you haven't found a new one. The Depot Devoid podcast is hosted by Matt Fagan and Ted Fagan. Depot Devoid is not hosted by Ian Fagan because he died and we miss him. Find our full video episodes at Depot Devoid Podcast on YouTube. On social media, you can find us at Depot Devoid Podcast on Blue Sky, and for now, still on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email us at depotdevoidpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can listen to the show on all of your favorite podcast platforms.